You know that feeling when you finally close your front door at the end of a long day? You drop your keys on the table, lean your back against the wood, and let out a breath so deep it feels like your lungs are finally remembering how to work. In that one heavy exhale, a version of you just died. The person who smiled at the boss they can't stand, the person who laughed at the joke that wasn't funny, the person who stood in the grocery aisle pretending they weren't staring at the floor just to avoid eye contact with a neighbor. You've just spent 8 hours performing a role in a play you never signed up for. And now, in the quiet of your hallway, you're finally alone. But here's the unsettling part. Even now, with no one watching, you might still be pretending. You might be so deep into the character that you've forgotten where the mask ends and your actual skin begins. We've all seen it, that one friend who's always living their best life on Instagram while their eyes look like they haven't slept since 2018, or the colleague who is so professional they've become a walking LinkedIn post. There is a deep, hidden psychology behind this collective masquerade, a reason why your brain feels like a starving predator trapped in a room made of mirrors. Today, we're going to stop the performance. We're going to peel back the layers of the fine and the okay to see what's actually rotting underneath. And by the end of this, you'll have to answer the only question that matters. So, are you done pretending?
Imagine a person who is the pillar of their community. Let's call them the saint of small sacrifices. They are the first to volunteer for the late shift, the one who remembers everyone's birthday, and the person you call at 3 a.m. because you know they'll actually pick up. On the surface, they are a hero. But if you look closer, you'll see the twitch in their jaw. You'll see the way they never quite sit all the way back in a chair, as if they're ready to jump up the second someone whispers a need. This is the first type of pretender, the high-utility martyr. The psychology here is both tragic and brutal. For the martyr, being loved and being useful are the exact same thing. This usually starts in a childhood where love was conditional, where you only got the good version of your parents when you were doing the dishes, getting the straight A's, or being the little therapist for their failing marriage. You learned very early that your feelings were a nuisance, but your utility was a lifeline. Now, as an adult, you pretend you don't have needs because having needs feels dangerous. If you stop being the one who fixes everything, why would anyone stay? You've built a life where you are a tool, not a human being. You're pretending to be tireless, but inside, you are a ghost, haunting your own life of service, waiting for someone to notice that the person doing all the helping is actually the one drowning. But maybe that's not you. Maybe you're on the other end of the spectrum. Consider the person who sits at the back of the coffee shop, headphones on, watching the world with a faint, cynical smirk. They don't join the groups, they don't buy into the trends, and they'll tell anyone who listens that the system is rigged or people are just sheep. We'll call this the cynical ghost. They pretend they are above it all because that's much safer than being in it. The psychology of the cynical ghost is a sophisticated form of self-preservation called intellectual spectatorship. If you never try, you can't fail. If you never care, you can't be hurt. You pretend that your isolation is a choice based on your high intelligence, but in reality, it's a shield against the terror of being seen. You've watched others try and fail, and your brain, that ancient survival-obsessed organ, has decided that the only way to win is not to play. You've traded the risk of a real life for the safety of a cold, intellectual distance. You're pretending to be the judge of the arena because you're too afraid to step onto the sand and admit that you actually want to be a part of something. You look down on everyone else's fake lives, but your life is just as hollow. It's just painted in a darker shade of gray.
Then there's a twist in the narrative, a profile that is becoming the epidemic of our era. You know, the person who's always crushing it, the one whose life looks like a high-speed montage of productivity, gym sessions, and meaningful side hustles. Let's call them the architect of the digital ego. This person isn't just pretending to others, they are actively gaslighting their own nervous system. They have created a version of themselves that is a high-definition, curated asset. The psychology here is a desperate response to the achievement void. In a world where we've lost our tribal significance, we've replaced it with digital visibility. The brain, which evolved to need the respect of a small village, is now trying to get that same survival hit from strangers on a screen. Every time the architect posts a curated moment, they get a microdose of dopamine that tells their brain, you are safe, you are seen, you are winning. But the second the phone screen goes black, the silence is deafening. The architect is pretending to be a success to avoid facing the reality that their internal self-worth is currently at zero. They are a brand, not a person. They've optimized their life for the gaze of others, while their internal world is a construction site that hasn't seen a worker in years. They are so busy building the monument to their life that they've forgotten to actually live inside it.
But perhaps the most quiet, and therefore the most dangerous type of pretender, is the one who says, I'm fine. We've all been this person. This is the Stoic statue. Imagine a person whose life is falling apart. Maybe a relationship is ending, maybe the job is soul-crushing, or maybe they just haven't felt a spark of joy in 6 months. But when you ask them how they are, they give you that practiced, tight-lipped smile and say those 2 lethal words, I'm fine. The Stoic statue is pretending that emotional numbness is the same thing as strength. The psychology here is often rooted in a displaced ancestor archetype, the idea that showing vulnerability is a weakness that will lead to being left behind by the pack. You've convinced yourself that holding it together is a virtue, but what you're actually doing is internalizing a slow-motion car crash. You're pretending your emotions don't exist because you don't have the tools to process them, so you just shove them into the basement of your subconscious and hope the door stays locked. But the basement is getting full. The fine is starting to feel like lead in your veins. You're pretending to be a rock, but even rocks erode when the pressure is high enough.
So why do we do it? Why do we spend so much cognitive energy maintaining these elaborate stage sets? Because the alternative is terrifying. The alternative is the black coffee truth, the raw, unadorned reality of who we are when we aren't being useful, or smart, or successful, or fine. We are afraid that if we stop the performance, people will realize there's nobody behind the curtain. But here's the secret that your brain, in all its survival-driven panic, doesn't want you to know. The people you are trying so hard to impress are also performing. They are also martyrs and ghosts and architects and statues. We are a society of actors exhausted by our own scripts, looking at each other through masks, wondering why we feel so alone in a room full of people.
Your brain was built for intensity, for survival, and for deep tribal connection. It wasn't built for the convenient lie of modern social dynamics. When you pretend, you are effectively putting your DNA into a digital cage. Your anxiety, that restlessness that wakes you up at 3 a.m., that's not a defect. That's the predator inside you sensing the cage. It's the part of you that knows you were meant for something more than performing a personality. It's the voice asking you if you're tired of the weight of the mask. Which type are you currently wearing? Are you the one who can't say no? The one who's too cool to care? The one whose life is a curated lie? Or the one who is fine while their soul is screaming? Maybe you recognize bits of yourself in all of them. That's okay. Recognition is the moment the mask starts to crack. It's the first breath of real air after a day of breathing in the dust of the theater.
So, how does this land for you? Does it feel like a call to action, or does it feel like a threat to the safety you've built? If this conversation felt like a punch in the gut, it's because something inside you is still alive enough to feel it. That's the part we're talking to. That's the part that is ready to stop the act. If you're ready to see what's actually behind the curtain, then you're in the right place. We're going to keep digging into these dark corners of the mind, unlearning the illusions together. Before you click away to the next performance, take one more look in the mirror. Look past the expression you've practiced for the world. Look at the eyes.
Are they still there? Are you still in there? The war is over. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to be flawed. You are allowed to be real. So, are you done pretending? If you found a piece of yourself in these shadows, join us as we continue to unmask the modern mind. Subscribe, stay in the conversation, and let us know in the comments which mask you're ready to drop today. We're just getting started.